I am the harbinger of fate, he whom did chronicle the stories, adventures, legends, and some say even myths of LA's infamous Captain Anarchy and his Anarchy Squad in Hollywood's Rock City News all throughout the decade of the 1990s, as he and his comrades fought and strove bravely in the face of that decade's musically turbulent and often, frankly, quite boring time to keep the truly worthy underground music scenes alive, and to also spread and perpetuate the concepts of free and independent thought and will through their message of general dissension and disaffection. In doing so, our protagonists strove not only to help the underground music scenes of that era, but also the roots of that music and those scenes that originated in the 1970s and 80s and even earlier eras as well. And they did so by getting in the face of the public with their invaluable press, photography, cable television series, live show and party promotions, underground networking of bands, and with live valued attendee appearances, to name just a few of their daring exploits that challenged the music industry as well as the government's equally often lost direction and hence misguidance of the world of music fans and freethinkers alike, both nationally as well as abroad. Unfortunately, the end of the 1990s, which was possibly one of the worst decades for rock music in its various genres and freethinkers alike, brought with it the demise of the Anarchy Squad. Following the tragic loss of team members Plastic Girl and Lady Liberty, the underground layer of Anarchy Squad headquarters was also finally discovered deep in the bowels of LA's long-forgotten sewer system by the various black ops government agencies who were working in conjunction with bounty hunters led by the evil Sergeant System, and whom were hired by major record label corporate bigwigs seeking the demise of our daredevil freedom advocates for their subversive actions and distribution of coinciding materials. Fleeing for their freedom and quite possibly their lives, the squad was hence forced to disperse and retreat into true underground seclusion like some kind of draft dodgers, many of whom were never heard from again, such as the Agent, whom officially retired, and Molecula, whom returned to his home world in a distant galaxy. And then there were the other part-time members such as Kid Chaos, Gravedigger, and Jumpin' Jeff, to name only a few, whom simply seemed to have vanished from the scenes and now tend only to resurface covertly on random rare occasions. This left only Captain Anarchy and his longtime comrade Prince of Darkness to carry the torch, whom following further investigation were rumored to have had their secret identities exposed, or at least so their enemies think and claim. And though Prince of Darkness did and still has periodically continued to provide the public with valued information regarding the various underground scenes as a writer for numerous other publications, our patron Captain Anarchy chose not to continue to do so in an attempt to evade and cloud his volatile past and hence discredit any public or official notion of him having ever secretly been the notorious hunted leader of Anarchy Squad, in order to confuse and divert those who would seek to take away his freedom of speech, his freedom period, or even his very life for that matter. However, the new millennium brings with it even more generic, corporate-composed music and bands whose lineup has been engineered by bigwigs, along with a controlled game plan targeted at the free-willed as a further attempt to control the masses and designed by the corporate cutthroats of the music industry and the ever-failing and desperate new government regime. And so, with that, we now see a return to the world of subversive communication by our long-cherished champion, Captain Anarchy. Unmasked, or perhaps not, yet ever elusive as always. Transmitting via pirate internet, radio and television, and by carrier pigeon when necessary, our champion has now begun offering us his vital memoirs, written in his own first-hand perspective, and henceforth to be published here in Lost Anarchy magazine, in an attempt to keep the public informed and educated as to the worthy music and scenes that still survive, and the just causes that need your support. So who is Captain Anarchy, you may ask? Many say he is an old-school punk from LA's West Side. Others say that he is a Z-list Hollywood rock star fronting several different bands of varying genres. Many claim he is a subversive sovereign citizen that lives out in the wild in a forest surrounding an ancient river and a desert lake, or maybe even just right here in the city underneath our noses. Others claim he is a playboy living in the Hollywood Hills, while others have even dared to say he is just a homeless bum from the ghetto that still lives in the sewers of his original hideout. Yet others say that he is actually just the guy next door, whom you would never suspect. And then there are those that claim he is an actual high seas pirate by day and a highwayman by night. And maybe he is one of these nefarious characters, and then again maybe, just maybe, he is a combination of them all. Or maybe some are right when they say that he does not actually exist, but rather that he is in fact just a concept, a standard, a mass illusion created by the will of free thinkers. But it doesn't really matter, for we call him Hero.
Captain Marcus McCunwell and crew, patriot privateers of the Royal Crown, also known on the high seas as Captain Anarchy. You and your crew stand accused of treason on the high seas against the American colonies. How do you plead for you and your crew, sir? Guilty as charged.
Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you strange.
Welcome to the first installment of LA's infamous Captain Anarchy's Hollywood memoirs. Spring gives way to summer as a heat wave descends upon the denizens of Lost Anarchy. So let the chaos begin. The Adolescents, the middle class and Love Canal at Weber's Place in Reseda. The Droogs came out this night, or at least the captain and his lady did, and henceforth, when she accompanies him in her own girly version of Droog attire, she shall be affectionately known as Droogie McBusty.
And yes, I thought it was pretty funny and kinda ironic of us to do so. This was an Adolescents headlining gig, and anyone who knows their music hence knows their song Rip It Up from their first album, and thus also knows how it mentions the movie Clockwork Orange in its opening line, and how they utilize the reference to that movie and the rat-packing type of violence that occurs in it in regard to their own disdain for similar acts that occur sometimes in the punk scene, albeit did not occur on this night. And in fact, no one even so much as got kicked in the yobbles even. But rather, this was just a really fun, friendly, and punks united kind of gig, actually. But before I get into reviewing the bands, I just want to give a big shout out to punk rock promoters Eric and Krista Lara of Bad Sam Presents for giving a few hundred of us punks a chance to get to see these bands up close and personal at a great local level venue, where we could actually get close to and interact with the bands while they were performing. And I also want to thank the owner, Kervin Linton, of Weber's Place, for providing us with a safe, cool, awesome Jamaican rum bar themed venue to party in, as this place rocked. And don't let me forget Allison and the bar staff, whom kept the strong drinks and affordable beers flowing fast and all night.
24-ounce Pabst Blue Ribbon cans. Oh yeah, baby.
Anyway, our cohort for the evening,
Greg Burial,
made his way in ahead of us since we were lagging. Well,
pounding the good old Malaco Plus in the old Durango 95, actually.
hence we missed Love Canal. But he reported that they tore through an action-packed set of old school punk done right. Check out a live video of it on his site, that's MRHANDJOB. But anyway, we made it in for middle class, and it was a real treat to get to see these old school veterans rip through a very long set of what must have been their entire catalog, literally. And they did so in their true to form lo-fi punk original style as well. Just like a blast back to their late 70s origin. And all the while, they never really missed a beat, and the crowd cheered on and the pit was virtually constant. And you can check out plenty of live footage of these guys at www.youtube.com/Mr. Handjob. That's MRHANDJOB. And then, of course, came the Adolescents, who proceeded to rip, snort, and tear through pretty much every song you would ever want to hear off their premiere Blue album, straight like it was still 1982. TSOL, Shattered Faith, and Neighborhood Watch at Weber's Place. Again, I want to thank Eric and Krista Lara of Bad Sam Presents and club owner Kervin Linton for putting on and hosting this. We made sure to roll up in time for Neighborhood Watch, and we were glad we did because they totally ripped it up.
Being a West Sider myself, it was especially great to get to see my old homies that I used to kick it with at Mar Vista Park back in the early suicidal days get up and kick out the old school jams. And they definitely brought their A game, with guitarist Mark Conway shredding away and drummer Dave Hutchinson slamming down the solid beats. And all the while, frontman Chris Howley-Braw kept the crowd thoroughly entertained with his aggressive vocal attack and socio-political, sometimes satirical, Budweiser-inspired witty lyrics. But the best way I can describe the band is the way they describe themselves, which is that they do not play bubblegum punk nor thrash, just good old school hardcore punk rock. And here's a picture of me, Captain Anarchy, riling up the crowd for an encore. But who's more drunk, me or Howley-Braw? But I couldn't end this without mentioning that of course they played their crowd pleaser and virtual theme song, Delicious Vomit, as well as some kick-ass new songs, my fave of which was The Goose, about their favorite drinking spot called the Wild Goose near LAX, which just happens to also be a topless bar, and is one I'm all too familiar with myself. Anyway, I'm about out of room here, so let me just wrap this up by saying that it was also fantastic to see Shattered Faith, especially because back in the day they kind of had a rep for booking shows and sometimes not showing up. And that even though they only have a few releases that all kind of draw from their 20-song or so catalog, they tore through all the significant songs with a ferocity. And as far as TSOL goes, well, you should all know by now they're one of my all-time fave death punk bands. And that's because they always rule, as I've hyped about them here time and time again, and as they did on this night too, storming through most of their choice cuts off their debut EP, Dance With Me LP, and Beneath the Shadows LP, as well as some of their later era cuts, and with all their usual swag and vigor. My only complaint was that either something went wrong with the sound system, or the band was just too loud, or the keyboards were overpowering the PA, or something, because the sound for their set was really blowing up. But, oh well, they still totally rocked.
Okay. Commercials for Jägermeister. A guy comes out of a hedge. He's covered in mud and blood.
And now for some reviews of some of LA's most happening underground goth and death rock clubs. Helter Skelter at the Dragonfly. This is my fave traditional goth and death rock monthly mainstay dance club, taking place on the second Saturday of each month, and often has a theme revolving around a particular old school band or holiday, etc. Legendary DJs Michael Stewart, Bruce Perdue, Jason Farber, and Shane Dingbat spin bands like Christian Death, Bauhaus, Specimen, Sisters of Mercy, etc. in the front room, and in the back room, later era stuff like Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, etc., mixed with dark wave, EBM, industrial, and even new wave and new romantic. And on the patio, Dave Batts and Ralph Enigmatic spin underground death rock and eclectic stuff. And then there is Stigmata at the Dragonfly. This is another evil club empire event that was around back in the day and has recently resurfaced and usually takes place the last Saturday of each month. Here, Michael, Bruce, and Shane Dingbat spin a mix of 80s goth and new wave with 90s stuff like KMFDM, Garbage, Front 242, Bjork, Prodigy, Nine Inch Nails, etc. So this is usually a blast, and I recommend you check it out. And last but not least, there's Disco Necro at the Dragonfly. This is my other fave traditional goth and death rock monthly mainstay club, only this one has a great punk rock twist, and it takes place every third Saturday of the month. So I get to go to my two fave clubs 2 weeks in a row. And it's super cheap to get in, only $5 if you RSVP on their Facebook site and get in line before 10:30 p.m. And they have $3 well drinks before 11 p.m. and $5 wells and domestic beers after. Here, DJs Shane Dingbat, The Baron, and Jason Farber spin old school goth and death rock, post-punk,
and dark 80s in the front room. But the big bonus for me here is the punk rock patio, where music fascist DJs Satoki and Krieg blast old school punk in between select death rock, thus giving us old punks the rare opportunity to both dance and start mini slam pits. And they also spin some vintage and new rockabilly and even drop in some occasional oldies, straight up rock, 70s glam, and even some new wave, ska, and more. So this place is definitely the spot.
Hey, you like a rockabilly bitch? How you like that? Rock and roll?
So be sure to check out further video footage of Neighborhood Watch, Shattered Faith, and TSOL on Greg Burial's YouTube site at www.youtube.com/Mr. Handjobs.
The Renaissance Pleasure Fair in Irwindale. Opening Day and Steampunk Day reviews. Lords and ladies, knights and peasants, jesters and giants, pirates, highwaymen, steampunks, goblins and elves, and a satyr. Oh my! That's right. All sorts flock in droves to the grand opening day of the Renaissance Pleasure Fair. But on his way, the captain did happen across a witch who cast a spell upon him, transforming him into a satyr of lore. Oh no!
But no worries, because plenty of ale, mead, and darkened rum later, I didn't care anyway. And on this fine spring day, I did find myself in the company of Milady Victoria Tiger Lily. And there we did a venture with me bestest mate, Eric the Musketeer, and his lady, Red Queen of Scots, with whom I also indulged in the fine period foods of the Shire, witnessed brutal joustings and duels, and saw many fine goods for sale and more. And once transformed back into myself, I did return with Lady Victoria Tiger Lily in me full armor for yon steampunk day as well, where we reveled with many enthusiastic airship corsairs like ourselves, caught a very risque, unplugged set by pirate rockers the dread crew of Oddwood, and capped off yet another very magical fair season.
Hip hip huzzah! And now, moving to the Sunset Strip. Lizzy Borden at the Whiskey A Go-Go and Heaven Below at the Viper Room. A twofer.
Actually, it was the other way around. After some brief lot lizard action in the super sneaky free parking lot with the Lady Victoria and the glam metal punk super heroines Penelope Pink and Metal Babe, we made our way into the Viper Room to catch the last half of an action-packed set by Heaven Below. This LA-based power trio played some powerfully rockin' original songs in the vein of, say, prime-era Guns N' Roses, and ended superbly with some excellent renditions of Pat Benatar's Heartbreaker and Motorhead's Ace of Spades. So I definitely recommend you check them out. Then, after another brief stop to chug a few more rounds out of the trunk, we made it to the Whiskey to witness the heavy metal assault of Lizzy Borden upon Hollywood in his long-awaited triumphant return to the Sunset Strip. And he did so most magnificently as well, taking the stage in silvery-toned and blackened orc-like armor with a tattered red Romanesque cape, and of course splattered in blood. And though he may not have employed quite as many of his usual props on this night, he and his murderous metal band nonetheless gave the crowd the yaps, with a perfectly executed 19-song set that included the very best of his arsenal to date.
And now for a review of Queenryche at the Canyon Club in Calabasas.
For those of you whom have not been out to the Canyon Club yet, let me just tell you that it is a very nice, well-decorated, and well-kept, large venue that has the wooden, rustic feel of a classic 80s rock club, much like a nicer, larger, higher ceilinged version of, say, the FM station back in its heyday, for instance. And this upscale club also has a large stage with excellent sound and lighting, a large dance floor, and table seating with a grand kitchen menu as well, and a giant throne. Hence the few times that I've ventured out here have been totally worth it, as anywhere in the house is like being within the first 20 rows of an arena while watching what is often a very major act. And on this night, indeed it was, as we were treated to a very rare performance by Queenryche of the technical metal masterpiece and hit record, Operation Mindcrime. Some complain that there are now two versions of the band. Let me just tell you that Jeff Tate, along with Rudy and Robert Sarzo, Simon Wright, Randy Gain, and Kelly Gray, played the album flawlessly. And this lineup is a must-see. Since we're on the subject of the Canyon Club, I'm going to skip around the order that my reviews appeared in the actual print version of my column and just go ahead and talk about another show that I saw at the Canyon Club recently, which was the Psychedelic Furs. As I said before, this venue is a nice upscale club with great decor and sound, and anywhere inside is like being in the first 20 rows of an arena to see what are usually major acts, and for a lot less money too. But I'd also like to mention it's much more laid back, as well as a lot closer to central LA than its similar counterparts behind the cop-ridden orange curtain, thus making it that much more worth the drive. Hence we return to the Psychedelic Furs, whom wooed a capacity crowd with their plethora of dark-edged new wave, new romantic type major radio hits, and equally impressive B-side material as well. And having grown up in the 80s, this was like revisiting the soundtrack of our youth. This show was killer, and if you ever get a chance to see the Psychedelic Furs here or anywhere else, you should definitely check them out.
Now, as far as the live reviews go, last but not least, Fear performing Fear the Record, and The Shrine appearing at the El Rey Theater.
Though I've got to make it brief, unfortunately, at least thanks to Golden Voice, I have to report this. The Shrine opened up, and though not quite the perfect fit for the bill, they still rocked the illustrious El Rey in all of its magnificent mid-Wilshire 1930s type glory with their brand of stoner garage rock, much along the lines of the old 80s band of a similar genre known as St. Vitus. So they lended an acceptable SST Records type of vibe to the night, I suppose. No, the only original member left in Fear is frontman Lee Ving. His backing band of the last several years did a great job, as did he, knocking out all of the songs off their debut hit record and then some. And though Lee Ving may be getting pretty venerable, his voice sounded just as good as ever. Crowd went totally nuts, complete with a relentless slam pit the whole time. So this was an awesome show, and thanks again to Golden Voice.
Hey guys, this is Mistress Layla here. It has been so, I wouldn't say odd, but it's been a few days for me. So my little adventure rant started around, I totally fucking forgot. It was when the time the Misfits played for 3 days in a row at the observatory in Orange County. I missed the first day, but the second day I went, I got put on the list, thank God. And I got put on the list again. I think, I don't know, big shout out to Jerry Only Jr. for putting me on that list. He's a really cool guy, love him. Very talented musician also. And what else? I hung out with the captain. I adopted him as my uncle, and he kind of adopted me as his niece, so go Captain Anarchy, you're one badass motherfucker.
Oh yeah!
During the performances, because I don't remember what happened the first night because I wasn't there the first night, but the second night, I got there and I missed the first band. I don't know who they are, and I'm kind of sorry for not knowing who they are, considering that one of their homeboys got me a pass backstage, and it's very untasteful of me to not know who they are. But the second band was this girl band, and they're called the She Demons. have to say is, chick band, enough said. They have the talents, but their looks is just all that's going for them right now. I see a lot more potential than what they're giving out. And I look forward to seeing them grow as musicians.
Whatever.
The last band, of course, was the Misfits, with Jerry only. For all 3 nights, from what I've heard, they were playing different CDs of the Misfits catalog, which was pretty cool, so, yeah. The third night, the first band was called Slaughter and the Dogs. It took a while for them to grow on me. Yeah, there's some old school punks that be like, hey, Slaughter and the Dogs are pretty awesome, and blah, 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 blah. Well, it took a while for them to grow on me because I didn't know who they were. Yeah. But after that, I say the singer, he moves a lot like Mick Jagger. He engages with the audience. The audience are eating it up, except for one song. That one song, Quick Joey Small, when he tried to engage with the audience. He's like, "Come on, start singing, run, Joey, Joey, run, run." Yeah, that part. The audience didn't sing one peep, and I was all like, "Ouch! You had them, and then you lost them, unfortunately." But we all have those days, you know. All in all, by the end of their set, I think they were very fucking badass.
Oh yeah.
The band after them were the She Demons, of course. You can tell I'm quoting other people on this. I'm not quoting myself. They're trust fund kids. I hung out with Uncle Anarchy. I hung out with his bassist Eric. They're 2 totally fucking badass guys, and I love them to death. After the show, the captain got me backstage from one of the She Demons passes. Like, it's really easy to get backstage. You just need to use your Jedi powers. If you have Jedi powers. If you don't, well, I'm sorry. You're missing out. It's fucking badass to have those. So, what else can I say?
Ahoy, brethren!
With many thanks to Sire Rick D., the new press-friendly director of communications for the Nottingham Festival, I didst venture forth to yon fest, masked and guised as the gentleman highwayman Marcus McHungwell, a.k.a.
Captain Anarchy.
Along with me equally guised partner in crime and minstrel mate, John Eric Sweet E. Bessica, of our medieval metal band,
Devil's Alley.
And hence we reveled merrily at this ever-growing year-end Renaissance-era festival and Elizabethan marketplace. This be a relatively new, enthusiastically growing, 2-weekend run fair that 'tis being very well received by ye Simi Valley community, and that also be gratefully very affordable by comparison to some others as well. And as promised last year by one of the main proprietors of this event, this year's fair 'tis indeed also at least twice the size of what was already a fairly sizable spread to begin with. This wondrous outdoor event imagines a village marketplace festival in the historic period of England during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. And here, amongst its grandeur and pageantry, we didst encounter many familiar booths and their proprietors and crew, such as Pendragon costumes, awesome period clothing, and yon best period leather jackets ever. Daylight artworks, yon ultimate bone pins originator. Amsbury's heart and skull, yon most seaworthy pirate wares. Creative fairy memories, yon most adorable arts and crafts booth, and several more from other notable fairs, as well as a plethora of other Renaissance-themed vendors whose fantastic, well-crafted, and unique arts and handicrafts representing the era we have actually not happened to have seen at other fairs per se, thus making for a fine day of crafts, clothing, and jewelry shopping. We did also encounter and party most heartily with some familiar mates as well, such as Captain Dagger, Lisa Lady Cambria Wright, and her lovely fair virgin friend, our artist vendor friends Pat and Sam, and many more. hence naturally overindulging ourselves in many different types of food of the era, and even more so in the drink of the period, such as Harp Lager, Bass Ale, and some very delicious cider, mead, and chocolate port type of combo concoctions, which were quite affordable compared to some other fares, much more so than modern pubs, and all of which had us simply reeling. And naturally, there were also many lovely vixens and buxom wenches swarming about us as well. Huzzah! 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 And along the way, we just also make many new acquaintances as well. Most notably, that of the magnanimous Sire Greg Hopla of Swords and Shields, Inc., Joust Performance Troupe, and world's only mass producer of titanium weapons, and whom is also most importantly known as the Deutschland Knight Gregorio, the driving force behind the very famous World Tournament of Champions, Knights of the Realm Joust Performance Troupe as well, whose exploits are legendary, and whose grand jousting troupe we can only hope will be featured at this fair someday soon. Then all the while, as we did meander and frolic among the roads that were lined with people dressed in period attire, we were serenaded by traditional folk music of the era, played on historic classical acoustic instruments in the background, thus driving us onward as we caught glimpses of Renaissance-era games and displays, and acts by acrobats, jugglers, knife throwers, and much more. And we just even pause here and then to witness some Shakespearean plays and theater-style performances portraying historical figures like William Shakespeare, played by the uncanny Dan McCann, Sir Francis Drake, and even Queen Elizabeth herself, all abounding with their own unique humor and twist.
Shut up and get to the point!
Wasteland's like a subculture. It's all these people that like post-apocalyptic themed shit, and they're probably like film students and New York art school students and... Hey, respect the bronze.
See you on the road, skag!
I'll see you out there in the wasteland. I respect the bronze, man. I respect bronze. There were probably more people in attendance at the Wastelanders ball that did not comprehend what our main force patrol cop costumes were from the first movie. Mad Max wasn't like really massively promoted and marketed in the movie theaters and stuff, especially not here in America, but the Road Warrior was.
Just walk away.
We're at a fucking Mad Max event, the Wastelanders Ball, and none of them didn't even know that you were dressed as the original Mad Max.
Really?
Wasteland Weekend, although it encompasses all things that are post-apocalyptic, the main primary focus of Wasteland Weekend itself is the Mad Max movies. So how can two guys show up dressed like main force patrol officers from the first movie not be recognized as such by the majority of the people in attendance? The minute I walked in the door and just walking through the crowd, just giving everyone sort of a really discriminating look, like a sort of pissed off cop. When you go to a club and a couple of like pissed off sheriffs show up and they're walking through the club, just like kind of fucking eyeballing everyone in there, looking for unsavory characters. They're just waiting for someone to do something stupid! I was walking through the venue like the whole time I was there, purposely making people like just see what the reactions are to see if I could make people feel really uncomfortable. And doing the universal signal for I've got my eyes on you. Even though I had long hair, they see all the badges. They're like, oh fuck, that cop's looking at me.
It's like the thrill of being near the executioner switch.
You got all these civilians covered, right? He's all, oh yeah, I'm watching them. Keep an eye on these knuckleheads. I got them covered, Sergeant.
We even have a station running 24-hour Mad Max imagery so that the people can see how superior Fury Road is.
Which is why
the music wasn't all that great.
We have a problem here.
the counterculture,
Median club age 21 to 34.
the underground's supposed to be better than the mainstream.
Guess what? One man entered, one man comes out in 9 months.
Not exactly the fucking same.
What the fuck?
So I didn't really know a whole lot of people. Saw a couple people that I knew. People that I thought were going to be there weren't even there. Damon and also my friend Frenchie, but yeah, a few other characters that I know, but couple other people, and that was it. Jared from Wasteland Weekend. I don't even know if he even really recognized me. But the Globe Theater, I don't know if you've been there, but it's another one of those old school...
I'm very aware of the Globe Theater. That's where the Vampire Ball is. That's where I dropped off Layla.
I was VIP, which basically you pay for VIP. And you get to walk the red carpet. You get to go upstairs. Upstairs is the VIP area. And basically what it consists of is more booths and chairs.
So it's got that old grand architecture with the high vaulted ceilings, and it really put things in perspective. You're like, wow, I'm sandwiched in between two giant old buildings.
Come on, man.
Upstairs. They had this band that was 20s, 30s, like flapper meets like swing dance kind of band playing that was called Leftover Cuties.
By now you think I'd write a million songs, give to a wounded heart, but when it comes to you, there's too much to say, and I never know where to start.
But somehow, like that, with them dressed that way and playing that music, it fit with like the Wasteland thing in a way. People were kind of like swing dancing to it.
Really? Why?
It's supposed to be like it's taking place inside of a dilapidated old theater, and everyone just like grabbed a whole bunch of like old clothes out of like trunks and stitched together like ballroom attire as best as they could.
And then what happened?
Some lip syncer called Lady Vajayjay to like this just modern diva pop, just not really my thing. They had some aerial artists, and that's all cool and everything, and it makes sense for like the theme of the whole thing, but it still would have been like way cooler, one like kind of brutal band. They had my medieval metal band, Devil's Alley, play at Wasteland Weekend. We headlined one of the Saturday nights a few years back or whatever. They could ask us.
Like dogs of war, they charge into the night, ripping flesh from bone.
We knew some guys that really did Wasteland Weekend type of stuff for real. Some really brutal guys that really lived the Wasteland lifestyle and had a band all based around it. And that was Edwin Borsheim and his band Kettle Cadaver. Who were doing that long before these guys ever even thought about doing Wasteland Weekend. And the pain, and the blood, with the walls, like up. And the dark, and the cold, with the walls, like up. I mean, they're not around anymore, obviously. Unfortunately, Edwin passed away, but there's other bands.
Fuck yeah! And Rebel.
We are the future.
The only reason why Jet voted for Trump is because he wanted the world to get nuked, turned into Mad Max. You know that, right? When I think a gun nut, like...
And then what happened?
After all that, when they were just having a DJ or whatever, and people were just dancing, I mean, it was a mix of different types of stuff, and throwing like specimens. Trying to let everybody get to hear a little bit of something that they like, because they realize that it's a really weird, mixed up, non-cohesive kind of a crowd.
What's this we hear about you hitting Fury Road?
I pose or shame all the...
Honestly, I always thought Thunderdome was the best one.
To be really honest with you, I still had a fun time, just like basically people watching.
It's a business opportunity where every day it rains pennies from heaven. Ta-da!
Could have had the swing dance bands and eased into it or whatever, but then at the end of the night, like the whole thing could have just got really chaotic and heavy and dark, and I think it would have made it a little more diverse, a little more entertaining, and I can tell that a lot of the people that were there like some heavier music. It may not be for everyone in the crowd, but definitely for sure there would have been like sizable mosh pit would have broke out at the end of the night, and that could have ended everything with like a really big bang. And when you're talking about post-apocalyptic, you want to go big, and you definitely want a big bang, because isn't that what post-apocalyptic's all about? Life after the big bang.
Check out our Patreon, and linked in the description, as you can tell, and support our cause. We don't get paid for this shit, and this is good content. It's better content than the other shit that everybody got.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or I will scratch your eyeballs out.